Hello everyone, welcome to Apti+ Academy for Civil Officers, a premier institution for preparing for civil officers in India. This is the brand new initiative of Apti+ Academy for Civil Officers, and this is the important government schemes, and this is the part 1 of the video. And the government schemes in India are very important for all the government exams in India, including UPSC, OPSC, WBCS and all the state PCS exams and various one-day exams in India. So those who are preparing for the government exams in India, the government schemes are must. So this is the part 1 of the video, and in the upcoming parts, which is part 1, part 2, part 3, etc., I'll be covering all the important government schemes in India in different parts. So for this reason you have to watch this series. So those who are preparing for government exams in India, and especially those who are appearing for UPSC prelims this year and in the prelims upcoming years, these videos are going to be important for them. So having said that, I'm starting today's session with the first scheme for today. The first scheme that I am going to discuss today is the Uttar Purva Transformative Industrialization Scheme, which is UNATI Scheme 2024, and this scheme has been launched by Government of India recently, and this scheme aims to foster the industrial growth and employment generation in the northeastern region. So you have to know the purpose why this UNATI scheme was implemented. So this UNATI scheme was implemented for the employment generation and the industrial growth, and where that is in northeastern states. So you have to know the purpose and where it is being implemented, and the objective, as we just discussed, is developing industries and generating employment in northeastern region, and it focuses on the attraction of the new investments, nurturing the existing ones. So the industries would also be nurtured, and the new industries will also be encouraged under this scheme. And the scheme period is effective from the date of notification. So you have to remember this point. Exam में आपको confuse कर सकता है कि this scheme is effective from the date of implementation. No, this scheme is effective from the date of notification until the 31st of March 2034. So this scheme is implemented for about 1 decade. Okay, so you have to remember these points, and the salient features of this scheme is that the scheme's total cost is 10,037 crore. So you have to remember this cost as well. In various one-day exams ये पूछा जाता है कि what is the allocation for this particular scheme. So from this topic as well, you might be asked that what is the allocation for the Unnati scheme. So you have to remember this point, that the allocation for the Unnati scheme is 10,037 crore, and the commencement of production for this scheme is within the 4 years from the grant of registration. So the industries which have been granted registration under this Unnati scheme would have to start production within the 4 years. Okay, so within the 4 years of the registration, the industries have to start the production. And zone classification is also there. So under this scheme, zones in northeast have been divided into 2 parts. The first one is zone A, which are industrially advanced zones, okay, and the second one is zone B, which are industrially backward regions. So based on these zones, the grants will be provided by the Government of India. And talking about the fund allocation under this scheme, the 60% of the part A outlay is earmarked for the 8 northeastern states. So out of total fund, the 60% would be given to the northeastern states only. So the industries, the people from the northeastern would be given the 60% weightage under this scheme. So if some person is from northeast and he wants to start a business in northeast, then he would be given the 60% of the total outlay, and out of 100%, the 40% would be based on the first in first out basis, which is the FIFO model. So under this FIFO model, the outsiders, that means those who are not from northeast, would be given the priority. So under FIFO basis, those who comes first would be given the priority, and the outlay for this FIFO model is 40%. So 60% for the 8 northeastern states, and the 40% is for the FIFO model. So you have to remember this FIFO model and the grant allocation as well. And the Department of Promotion of Industry and Internal Trade, which is DPIIT, is the implementing body of this Unnati scheme. So these are the important facts that you need to know about. And talking about the northeast, there are 7 states. There were 7 states in northeast earlier, okay, and these are Meghalaya. You have to know the capitals as well. The capital of Meghalaya is Shillong. There is Tripura, and Agartala is the capital of Tripura, and there is Mizoram as well, is the capital of Mizoram. Manipur's capital is Imphal. Nagaland is here, and the capital is Kohima, and Assam is here, capital is Dispur, and the Arunachal Pradesh, whose capital is Itanagar. So you have to know the location of these capitals as well. ठीक है, यूपीएससी में एक बार एक ऐसे क्वेश्चंस पूछा था कि अरेंज द फॉलोइंग कैपिटल्स ऑफ नॉर्थ ईस्टर्न स्टेट्स फ्रॉम नॉर्थ टू साउथ और फ्रॉम ईस्ट टू वेस्ट. ठीक है, सो लोकेशंस इंपॉर्टेंट है कि ये कैपिटल्स कहाँ पे है. ठीक है, फॉर इंस्टेंस एजवाल इज इन द ईस्ट ऑफ इम्फाल. ठीक है, that is southeast. So you have to remember these points. And earlier there were 7 states in northeast. Now one more is there, which is the Sikkim. So the 7 sister states plus 1 brother state now becomes the 8 northeastern states. So these are the important facts about the UNATI scheme and the northeastern states. Now moving on to the other important government schemes which have been started by Government of India for the northeastern regions. So far as the other government schemes related to the northeastern region is concerned, the most important one is the Prime Minister's Development Initiative for Northeastern region, which is the PMJDY scheme. So this is the scheme which was launched recently by Government of India a few years back, and this was launched by in the Union Budget 2022-23. ठीक है, so you have to remember when it was launched as well. And this PMJDY scheme aims to fund the infrastructure and social development projects in northeastern region. ठीक है, so this is basically an infrastructure development project or the scheme which was started by Government of India. And another important initiative of Government of India is Advancing Northeast Portal. So Advancing Northeast Portal is a digital platform and the web-based initiative developed by the Department of Northeast region, which is donor, and the Northeastern Development Finance Corporation. So these are the important departments which are involved in the creation of this Northeast portal, and this Advancing Northeast portal provides knowledge and guidance for the youth of Northeast. So this is a knowledge platform basically. So the knowledge will be disbursed through this Advancing Northeast portal. So this is an important initiative so far as Northeast is concerned. And Northeast Special Infrastructure Development Scheme, which is NESIDS. So this is also an important scheme, and this is a central sector scheme. So this is very important. So there are basically 2 types of schemes in India. The first one is the central sector scheme. That means in this scheme 100% of the funding will be given by the center. Second one is centrally sponsored scheme. Centrally sponsored scheme. So this is the centrally sponsored scheme, and under the centrally sponsored scheme, the revenue would be distributed between the center and states. So certain percentage of the revenue would be given by the center, and another few percentage would be saved by the state government. So if the center pays 60%, then the states will pay 40%. So this is the ratio how the revenue is distributed between the center and states in the centrally sponsored schemes. So you have to remember 2 schemes which are central sector schemes, where the 100% of the finance is given by the center, and another one is the centrally sponsored scheme where the revenue is shared between the center and states. So you have to remember these 2 points. So this scheme, which is the Northeast Special Infrastructure Development Scheme, is an central sector scheme. That means 100% of the funding will be given by the central government, and outlay for this scheme for the year 2022-23 to 2025-26 is 89,039.50 crore. So you have to remember this fact that more than 81,000 has been allocated for this project. So these are the important facts about this scheme, and the scheme encompasses 2 components. So there are 2 components of this scheme. First one is NESIDS road, ठीक है, and other one is NESIDS other than road infrastructure project. So the first component basically looks after the roads, and the second component looks after the other projects which are other than the roads. So these are the important facts that you need to know about schemes so far as the northeastern states are concerned. Now moving on to next important scheme of Government of India. The next important government scheme of discussion for today is Pradhan Mantri Uchchatar Shiksha Abhiyan, which is PMUSA scheme, and this was initially launched as the Rashtriya Uchchatar Shiksha Abhiyan, which is RUSA, in 2013. So this RUSA scheme was the parent scheme of the PMUSA scheme, and this scheme was renamed as PMUSA in 2023. So only after 2023 this PMUSA was named as PMUSA scheme, and the aim of this PMUSA scheme is to improve the overall quality of existing state of higher educational institutions. So PMUSA scheme basically relates to the higher educational institutes, not the secondary institutes or the primary educational institutes in India. So आपको ये point याद रखना है. And talking about the salient features of the scheme, rupees 100 crore is being provided to the 35 state universities for multidisciplinary education and resource transformation. So 100 crore would be provided to the 35 universities from the states, and under this 100 crore these state universities would be made multidisciplinary. So Meru universities, which have been provided by National Education Policy of 2020, would be fructified by the scheme. So government of India basically aims to achieve the goal of national education policy as well through this scheme. And the establishment of model degree colleges is also another provision. So under this scheme, the model degree colleges would be established in states, and the grants for strengthening the universities. So to strengthen the universities in states, the grants would be provided to the states under the scheme. And this scheme mainly focuses on remote areas, left-wing extremism affected areas, aspirational districts, and low gross enrollment ratio regions in India. So these are the focus areas of the PMUSA scheme. So you have to remember these areas are being focused upon by the PMUSA scheme. So all the colleges which have been recognized by UGC Act would be eligible for funding under the PMUSA scheme, and the colleges must have a grade A of NAC accreditation or good NBA score. So colleges which have a grade A of the NAC accreditation would be eligible for this funding under the PMUSA scheme. So you have to remember these points. So these were the important facts about the PMUSA scheme that you need to know about. And now moving on to next scheme for today. The next important scheme for today's discussion is middle class housing scheme, and this scheme was announced by Government of India in the Union Budget 2024-25. So for this reason this scheme is very important, and under this scheme the Government of India will assist the middle class individuals living in rented houses, slums, chawls, and unauthorized colonies to purchase or construct their own homes. So the people living in these areas would be supported by Government of India under this scheme, and this scheme is part of Housing for All policy of Government of India. So Government of India has an important initiative called Housing for All policy. So under this policy the Government of India aims to provide housing for all the people in India, all the households in India. So this scheme, which is the middle class housing scheme, falls under the Housing for All policy of Government of India. But you have to remember one point, that this middle class housing scheme is not part of Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, which is PMAY. So you have to remember this point. And another important point to note here is that there is no defined criteria for the identification of middle class in India yet. So we have no criteria which people or which category of people falls under the middle class in India. So there is no defined criteria for this. And the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana is basically a scheme which aims to provide the affordable housing for all by the year 2022. And the PMAY has two components, which is the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Urban, and another one is Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Gramin. And there are two departments or ministries which oversees these two schemes. The Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Urban is being overseen by the Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs, and the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Gramin is being overseen by the Ministry of Rural Development. So these are the two departments or ministries which are overseeing these two schemes, and these are the important facts about the middle class housing scheme. Now moving on to next scheme for today's discussion. Recently, the government of India established first Skill India Center in Sambalpur in Odisha, and this is important for the prelims perspective. And the objective of this scheme is to empower youth with the industry relevant skills. Okay, the empowerment of the youth is the main objective of the scheme, and this scheme also aims to democratize the access to quality education and to establish the level playing field to the aspiring youth. So this scheme is basically targeted to the youth, and youth would be given a level playing field in the important educational sectors. Okay, so these are the important objectives of this scheme or this Skill India Center, and this scheme is being implemented by National Skill Development Corporation. So this NSDC is basically implementing this scheme. So this is the important initiative of Government of India. Now moving on to next scheme of discussion for today. The next important scheme of discussion for today is Vidangel scholarship program, and this scheme is basically launched for the Navodaya Vidyalaya students, and under this initiative the meritorious students from these schools would be given the access to high quality learning systems. So the students who lacks the financial means from these schools would be given support by the Government of India under this scheme. Okay, and this scheme also facilitates the smooth transition from the secondary to higher education by the financial support. So the students who lacks the financial support in these schools would be given support by the Government of India to transition from the secondary education to the higher education. And so far as the implementing agency of this scheme is concerned, the HCIL, which is the Mini Ratna company. Okay, so this is a Mini Ratna company, Mini Ratna 1 company would be implementing this scheme, and HCIL is basically the Educational Consultants of India Limited. So Educational Consultant of India Limited will be implementing this scheme, and it secures support and funding from the non-governmental partners and the private entities. So you have to remember this point, that the Vidangel scholarship program is not being funded by Government of India. So this is completely being funded by the private agency and the NGOs. And the beneficiary students under the Vidangel scholarship program are the students from the class 11 and 12. So the students who are in the class 11 and 12 are eligible under this Vidangel scholarship program. So these are the important facts about the Vidangel scholarship program that you need to know about. Now moving on to next topic of discussion for today. The next important scheme of discussion for today is Raising and Accelerating MSME program, which is the RAMP scheme of Government of India. And this RAMP scheme was basically initiated by Government of India based on the recommendation of UK Sinha committee. So this committee is very important in many exams. For instance, SSC and other exams like NAVAD has asked that the UK Sinha committee relates to what? So you have to remember thus that UK Sinha committee relates to the MSME development in India. Okay, so this is an important point that you need to know, and it is an World Bank assisted central sector scheme. So this is being assisted by World Bank. So this is also an important point, and this is a central sector scheme. So this scheme is also being funded by Government of India, not the other agency. So the Government of India is funding the 100% for this scheme. So this is an important fact, and this scheme is basically aimed at improving the access to market and the credit for MSMEs. So the market access for the MSMEs would be improved under the scheme, and this scheme also aims to address the issues of delayed payments and greening of MSMEs. So the issue of the delayed payment are being faced by India or the MSMEs in India. So the issue of the delayed payments or the late payments to the MSMEs by the vendors would be solved by this RAMP scheme, and the greening of MSMEs. So the sick MSMEs which lacks funds or which do not have the revenue model, etc., would be supported by the Government of India under the RAMP scheme. And so far as the monitoring body of this RAMP scheme is concerned, the Apex National MSME Council headed by the Minister of MSME would monitor this project. So the National MSME Council, which is being headed by the Minister of the MSME, would monitor this project. And the RAMP initiative of Government of India is very important because the RAMP initiative will complement the Atmanirbhar Bharat program of Government of India. So these are the important facts that you need to know about the RAMP initiative. Now moving on to next scheme of discussion for today. The next important scheme of discussion for today is Raising and Accelerating MSME program, which is the RAMP scheme of Government of India. And this scheme is basically initiated by Government of India based on the recommendation of UK Sinha committee. So the The next important scheme of discussion for today is zero defect, zero effect scheme, and this scheme was launched by Government of India in 2016, and this scheme falls under the Ministry of MSMEs. So you have to remember the year as well and also the ministry, okay? And it is an integrated and comprehensive certification system. So this ZDD effect or the zero defect, zero effect scheme is the certification scheme, okay? So basically the MSMEs are certified using the ZDD rating. So ZDD rating is based on 50 parameters. So under the 50 parameters the MSMEs would be rated, okay? So this 50 parameters is for the general category MSMEs. For the defense category MSMEs there are additional 25 parameters, okay? So you have to remember this point. And based on the assessment of the ZDD rating, the MSMEs have been categorized into 5 sectors based on the ranking, okay? The best MSMEs under the ZDD rating would be given the platinum category, okay? So platinum category means they are highly rated. The second category is diamond category. So diamond category MSMEs are second highly rated under the ZDD rating. The third category is gold, the fourth is silver, and the sixth is bronze. So these are the categories of the MSMEs based on the ZDD rating. And the zero defect products are basically the products which are the customer centric, and they are the zero non-compliance product. So these zero defect products are compliant with all the government norms or all the industry norms of Government of India, okay? So they are compliant with all the rules such as the environment policy or the Environmental Protection Act, EIA rules, etc. And there is also zero waste from this zero defect products. So there will be no waste from these products. And zero effect means the products which have zero air pollution and liquid discharge and solid waste. So the zero effect means there will be no harm to environment from these products. And the implementing agency of this zero defect, zero effect is the Quality Council of India. So Quality Council of India would be implementing this scheme, and you comment in the comment section when was the Quality Council of India founded and under which ministry the Quality Council of India falls. So these are the important facts about the zero defect and zero effect scheme of Government of India. Now moving on to next scheme of discussion for today. The last important scheme of discussion for today is Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana, which is PMJDY, and this scheme was launched by Government of India in August 28, 2014. So ये year and date important है. बहुत सारा one day exams में ये date and year पूछा गया है. For instance WBCS and in SSC exams the dates and years are asked. And this Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana is the one of the largest financial inclusion initiative globally, ठीक है? So this is a very important point, and this is led by Ministry of Finance. So this scheme falls under the Ministry of Finance, and it aims to provide the affordable financial services to the vulnerable and economically disadvantaged sections of society. So all the people who are vulnerable and who are economically disadvantaged, for instance scheduled tribes, scheduled caste, the untouchables, the Viklangs, etc. would be supported under this Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana. And so far as the features of PMJDY is concerned, it aims to expand the banking services through the branches and banking correspondents. So the banking services in India would be expanded under this PMJDY scheme, and those who open the account would get the indigenous debit card, which is the RuPay card. So RuPay card is basically an indigenous card which is built in India or manufactured in India by National Payment Corporation of India. ठीक है? So the RuPay card would be given to the Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana account holders, and the PMJDY account holders would also get access to the accident insurance coverage of 1 lakh rupees, and this accident insurance coverage have been increased to 2 lakh rupees for the accounts which have been opened after the 28th of August 2018. So currently the accidental insurance under the Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana is 2 lakh rupees. ठीक है? So these are the important facts about the PMJDY, and PMJDY also provides for the overdraft facility. So the 10,000 rupees of overdraft facilities have also been provided under this PMJDY. So that means even if you have the zero balance in your Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana account, then you can also withdraw your money from the account account because the 10,000 rupees overdraft facility have been provided under this scheme. So that means this 10,000 rupees is not an balance of your account, but this 10,000 rupees is an overdraft facility, and even if you withdraw the money from this overdraft facility, you have to pay this money to the government of India. So 10,000 rupees of overdraft facility have been provided under this scheme, and the PMJDY accounts are eligible for the direct benefit transfer DBT, Pradhan Mantri Jeevan Jyoti Bima Yojana, and Pradhan Mantri Suraksha Bima Yojana and Atal Pension Yojana. So the Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana account holders would be eligible for these schemes. So this was the last topic of discussion for today's video on the important government schemes. And in the today's government schemes video, I covered the 10 important government schemes, and in the next video I'll be covering the next 10 important schemes, and in the upcoming videos I'll be covering all the important schemes of government of India. So for this reason you have to watch these videos. So having said that, I'm concluding today's session. We'll meet again in the next video. Till then, take care.